Now, Miss Swan,
王女士，
when did you first see the gun on the seat of your car?
你第一次是哪个时候看到这个枪在你这切上这个椅子桌子上头？
我从来就没有枪。
I never had a gun.
But you did see the gun on the seat of your car?
你看过在你切上这个椅子桌子上头有枪？
我从来就没有枪。
I never had a gun.
But if it's not yours, how did the gun get there in your car?
如果不是你的枪，怎么跑到你的切上来？
我从来就没有枪。
I never had a gun.
But Miss Swan, I'm not asking if you own a gun. I'm asking when you saw the gun on the seat of your car.
Even vulgar speech or cursing is to be interpreted.
What the interpreter has to keep in mind is that they have sworn an oath that they are going to faithfully and accurately render what is spoken in the foreign language into English, and you cannot allow your personal feelings get in the way of that. If these are words that you would be uncomfortable uttering out of your own mouth, you have to remember that these are not your own words. You do not own them. Your job is merely to translate them into English.
The interpreter's responsibility is to impartially facilitate communication between the parties. The interpreter is never to edit statements made by witnesses or to say what he or she thinks a defendant or witness means to say. Nor is the interpreter to offer his or her own opinions or feelings about any aspect of the case or proceedings.
At this point, we'll recess for lunch. Be back at 1:30. All rise.
The interpreter must take no active role even if an attorney or another court officer asks for an opinion.
I'm not sure about our last witness. Tell me, what do you think? Was he telling the truth?
Well, I'm not in a position to say anything about your case.
Well, but surely you have some idea about whether he was believable.
Well, it's not appropriate for me to say anything about the case.
Well, yeah, but I mean...
Well, my position does not allow me to say anything about the case.
If the interpreter has a question or needs a clarification or a repetition, he or she must direct that request to the judge, who may in turn ask others to repeat what was said.
You wouldn't consider yourself a friend of Miss Wolf's then, would you?
Usted entonces no se consideraría amiga de la señora Wolf?
No.
No.
But you knew her well enough to know that she had been given a golden parachute last year.
Your Honor, the interpreter is not familiar with the term counsel has used, golden parachute. Could he request that it be explained?
Mr. McCann, would you explain the term golden parachute?
Certainly, Your Honor.
Whenever the interpreter needs to consult the witness about a linguistic issue, the interpreter must always ask permission of the judge.
So you became angry with Miss Wolf when you asked her to go to the neighborhood shop.
Entonces usted se enojó con la señora Wolf cuando le pidió que la acompañara a la tienda del vecindario.
What did she say that made you so angry?
¿Qué fue lo que le dijo que la enojó tanto?
Ay, Dios, eso queda por el quinto infierno.
Your Honor, the interpreter is not quite certain what the witness means by a phrase she's used. Could he inquire so that he can clarify the answer?
Yes, go ahead, please.
¿Qué quiere decir usted cuando dice eso queda por el quinto infierno?
Ay, es una expresión nomás. Quiere decir, es demasiado lejos para ir hacia un sitio tan feo.
It's just an expression. It means it's too far to go to such an ugly place. The interpreter is now ready to continue interpreting testimony, Your Honor.
If the witness or defendant asks for clarification of a question or statement, the interpreter simply interprets the witness or defendant's request for all parties in the courtroom. The interpreter leaves it to the person who posed the original question or made the original statement to explain what he or she meant. The interpreter is not to explain what has been said or asked during a court proceeding.
Now, Miss Lopez, you had testified previously that you had been to Miss Wolf's home, is that right?
Ahora bien, señora López, usted había declarado anteriormente que había ido a la casa de la señora Wolf, ¿no es así?
Sí.
Yes.
How is it you would have been there?
¿Cómo es que usted hubiera estado allí?
¿Qué dice? Yo no entiendo la pregunta. ¿Qué es lo que quiere saber?
What does he mean? I don't understand the question. What does he want to know?
Let me rephrase the question. What I'm asking is, why did you go there previously?
If the interpreter makes an error of interpretation, he or she must correct it as soon as possible. If you're interpreting for a defendant at the table, then of course it's much easier. You just lean over to the defendant and say, I made a mistake. This is what he said. When it's for a testimony that is being taken down on the record,
then you must be very clear to make sure that any errors that you become aware of are corrected. At the very first opportunity, you perhaps would not interrupt a question in the middle of a question, but as soon as there is a pause, you would say, Your Honor, the interpreter has become aware that a mistake was made and a correction needs to be made for the record. And just by doing that should be enough to get the judge's attention, and you should have the opportunity to correct your mistake.
The interpreter who has taken the oath is an officer of the court and is ethically bound to remain neutral. Just the mere appearance of bias could put in question the validity of any proceeding.
你认为这场官司他可以打赢吗？